Okay, so today we're diving into some really cutting-edge research on biological age.
Okay.
You know how old our bodies really are at the cellular level?
Right.
And scientists are developing some incredible new tools to
Well,
measure this.
hmm
And we're going to be looking at a study that was published just days ago
Oh, wow.
on December 29th
Okay.
in the journal Aging.
Very cool. Yeah, this is really remarkable stuff. We've been using these things called epigenetic clocks to estimate biological age
Okay.
for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, these clocks look at patterns of chemical changes to our DNA called DNA methylation.
Wait, hold on. Can we break that down a bit?
Sure.
Epigenetic clocks and DNA methylation.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like science fiction.
It might sound futuristic,
Yeah.
but it's simpler than you think.
Okay.
Imagine your DNA is like a giant instruction manual for your body.
Okay.
Okay. DNA methylation is like adding sticky notes to specific pages in that manual. Okay.
These notes don't change the words themselves,
Right.
but they change how the instructions are read.
So as we age, we get more of these sticky notes on our DNA, and that changes how our cells function.
Exactly. And the pattern of these sticky notes
Okay.
can tell us a lot about a person's biological age, which might be different from their chronological age.
So it's like looking at wear and tear on a car.
Yeah.
Two cars might be the same model year,
Right.
but one could have a lot more mileage and wear and tear.
Exactly.
Depending on how it's been driven.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Now, traditional epigenetic clocks have been analyzing entire tissues,
Okay.
like a piece of skin or liver. They give us an overall picture of that tissue's biological age.
Okay.
But what this new research does is really fascinating.
This is where it gets really interesting, right?
Yeah.
They found a way to measure the biological age
Yes.
of individual cells within a tissue.
Exactly.
That's
Instead of
fancy.
just getting an average age. Okay.
For the whole tissue,
Right.
they can now zoom in and see which cells are aging faster or slower than others.
Okay, but why does that matter?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't all the cells in a tissue age at roughly the same rate?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Different cell types have different jobs to do and different lifespans.
Okay.
A neuron in your brain ages very differently from a skin cell, for example.
So even in a healthy person,
Yeah.
there's a lot of variation in how cells are aging throughout the body.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this research so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like we've had this blurry picture of aging before,
Right.
and now we're suddenly seeing everything in high definition.
I see. So by understanding how individual cell types age,
Yeah,
we could potentially develop more targeted therapies.
precisely. Let's take Alzheimer's disease, for instance.
Okay.
This study found that certain brain cells, particularly support cells called glia
Okay.
in the memory center of the brain.
We're aging faster in people with Alzheimer's.
So instead of looking at the brain as a whole,
Right.
they could pinpoint these specific cells that seem to be driving the disease.
Right. And if we could target those specific cells
Okay.
and slow down
Yeah.
or reverse their aging process, we might be able to prevent or delay the onset of Alzheimer's.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like having a molecular scalpel
Exactly.
to target the exact cells that are causing the problem.
And it's not just limited to Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
They also found that this new cell type specific clock
Right.
was more accurate than previous methods
Oh,
in detecting liver problems.
so how does that work? Can you give me an example?
Sure. In conditions like fatty liver disease,
Okay.
their new clock showed that liver cells were aging much faster than expected,
Wow.
even in people who weren't showing any obvious symptoms.
So this could be a huge breakthrough for
100%.
early diagnosis and treatment of liver disease. Absolutely. And it highlights the potential of this research to change how we approach healthcare.
Okay.
We could move from reactive medicine,
Yeah.
where we treat diseases after they develop,
Right.
to a more proactive approach, where we identify and address these cellular aging issues early on.
This is all starting to sound really exciting.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it's a lot to wrap my head around.
Sure.
What's the key takeaway here?
The main point is that we're moving beyond this one-size-fits-all view of aging.
Yeah.
We're starting to recognize that aging is a complex process
Yeah.
that varies from cell to cell, and this new research gives us the tools
Right.
to understand that complexity in much greater detail.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about how old you are overall,
Right.
but about how old your individual cells are.
Exactly.
And by understanding that,
Yeah.
we might be able to develop targeted therapies
Yep.
to slow down or reverse aging in those specific cells.
You got it. And that opens up a whole new world of possibilities for treating age-related diseases and improving our health span.
This is truly groundbreaking stuff.
It is.
So what else did they find in this research? What other insights can we glean from looking at aging on a cellular level?
Well, one of the most intriguing findings is that even within a single tissue, there's a huge diversity in how cells are aging.
Okay.
It's like a city with different neighborhoods.
Wait, hold on. A city?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Oh.
Tell me more about this city analogy.
All right. Imagine you're looking at a city from above.
Okay.
You see all these different buildings, some old, some new, some in good condition, some falling apart.
Yeah.
Each building represents a cell.
Okay.
And the city as a whole represents a tissue.
Okay.
Like your liver or your brain.
Okay. I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Okay.
So even though the city might have an average age,
Right.
if you zoom in, you'll see that different areas are aging at different rates.
Exactly. And those differences can tell us a lot about the health of the city as a whole.
Okay.
Some neighborhoods might be thriving with new construction and lots of activity, while others might be neglected and run down. Those rundown areas might be the ones most susceptible to disease or damage.
So by studying the aging pattern of individual cells within a tissue, we can get a much more nuanced understanding of what's happening.
Precisely. And that knowledge can guide us in developing more targeted and effective treatments.
This is all incredibly fascinating.
It is.
But I have to ask, what are the potential downsides of this knowledge?
Sure.
Could this ability to measure cellular aging create new anxieties?
It's possible.
Or ethical dilemmas?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something we need to think carefully about as this technology advances. For instance, what if we find out that certain cells in our body are aging much faster than expected?
Yeah.
Would that knowledge be empowering?
Right.
Or would it create undue stress and worry?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
And it leads to another question. Who should have access to this information?
Right.
And how should it be used?
These are important questions that we need to address as a society.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that this technology is used responsibly and ethically.
Right.
And that its benefits are shared equitably.
Okay.
But for now, let's focus on the positive potential of this research.
Oh.
It's a remarkable breakthrough that has the power to transform how we understand and treat aging and age-related diseases.
Okay, I'm on board.
Great.
So we've talked about how this new cell-type specific clock works and some of its potential applications.
Right.
But what about the bigger picture?
Sure.
How could this research change our overall view of aging?
Well, for centuries, we viewed aging as this inevitable decline, a passive process that we're powerless to resist.
Right.
But this research is challenging that assumption. It's showing us that aging is much more dynamic and malleable than we previously thought.
So instead of simply accepting aging as our fate, we can start to see it as something we can influence and potentially even control.
Exactly. And that's a powerful message. It means that we can take an active role in our own aging process and strive to maximize our health span, which is the period of life during which we're free from chronic diseases and disabilities.
So it's not about living forever, but about living healthier for longer.
Precisely. And that shift in mindset has huge implications for public health policies, social programs, and even our individual choices.
That's fascinating. I'd love to dive deeper into those implications.
Okay.
But first, let's take a quick break.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back to explore how this research could change the way we think about aging and its impact on society as a whole.
Great.
All right, we're back and ready to delve deeper into the potential impact of this research on aging. You were just saying, this could have huge implications for things like public health policies, and even social programs.
That's exact. Think about it. If we can identify people who are at higher risk for age-related diseases based on their cellular age, we could target preventative measures much more effectively.
So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach to healthcare, we could tailor interventions to each person's unique aging profile.
Precisely. It would be like personalized medicine, but with a focus on preventing age-related decline.
Right.
It could revolutionize how we approach healthcare for the aging population.
That's a really compelling vision. But wouldn't that require massive changes to our current healthcare system?
It would definitely require some adjustments, but the potential benefits are enormous.
Right.
Imagine a world where we could significantly reduce the incidence of diseases like Alzheimer's, heart disease, and cancer, simply by identifying and addressing cellular aging issues early on.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Are there any downsides to this approach? What if people find out their cells are aging rapidly and it causes unnecessary anxiety?
That's a valid concern, and it's something we need to consider carefully. We don't want to create a culture of fear around aging. The key is to use this information responsibly and empower people to make informed choices about their health without overwhelming them.
I see your point. It's all about finding the right balance between knowledge and action.
Exactly.
So beyond healthcare, what other areas of society could be impacted by this research?
Well, think about social programs. It's like retirement and elder care. If we can extend people's health spans, they might be able to work longer and live more independently, potentially reducing the strain on these programs.
That makes sense. But couldn't that also lead to new challenges?
It could.
Like age discrimination in the workplace, for example.
Absolutely. That's a real concern. As people live longer and healthier lives, we'll need to rethink our traditional notions of retirement and create more flexible and inclusive work environments.
It seems like this research is forcing us to confront some fundamental questions about how we view aging and its role in society.
It is. And it's an exciting time to be having these conversations. This research has the potential to transform our understanding of aging and create a more age-inclusive and equitable society.
That's a powerful vision. But let's get back to the science for a minute. We've talked about how this new clock can measure cellular aging and its potential applications. But how can we actually use this knowledge to slow down or reverse aging in specific cells? That's the million-dollar question.
And there are a number of promising avenues of research being explored. One area that's generating a lot of excitement is senolytics.
Senolytics. I've never heard of that. What is it?
Senolytics are drugs that specifically target and eliminate senescent cells.
Senescent cells, what are those?
Think of them as zombie cells. They're cells that have stopped dividing but refuse to die. And as we age, they accumulate in our tissues, contributing to inflammation and damage.
Zombie cells. That sounds a bit creepy. So how do senolytics work against these zombie cells?
By removing these senescent cells, senolytics can potentially slow down the aging process and prevent or delay age-related diseases. The exciting thing is that they can be targeted to specific tissues or organs, allowing for a more precise approach to anti-aging therapy.
So instead of trying to slow down aging in every cell, we could focus on clearing out these problematic zombie cells in the areas where they're causing the most trouble.
Exactly. It's like weeding a garden. You don't need to pull up every single plant, just the ones that are harming the others.
That's a great analogy. So are senolytics already being used to treat age-related diseases?
They're still in the early stages of development, but the initial results are very promising.
Oh, wow.
There are a number of clinical trials underway testing senolytics for conditions like osteoarthritis, kidney disease, and even Alzheimer's.
That's amazing. Are there any other approaches being explored beyond senolytics?
Another area that holds immense potential is gene editing. Using techniques like CRISPR, scientists could potentially modify genes that are involved in cellular aging.
CRISPR, isn't that the technology that allows us to edit DNA?
That's right. With CRISPR, we could potentially repair damaged DNA, boost the activity of genes that promote longevity, or even reprogram cells to behave like younger versions of themselves.
Wow. Gene editing for anti-aging.
Yeah.
It sounds like science fiction becoming reality.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the possibilities are real, and the science is advancing rapidly.
Wow.
We're on the cusp of a revolution in how we understand and treat aging.
This is all incredibly exciting.
It is.
But I also feel a sense of caution.
Yeah.
Gene editing is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
And I imagine there are ethical concerns.
There are.
About using it to manipulate the aging process.
You're absolutely right. We need to proceed with wisdom and foresight.
Yeah.
Gene editing raises a whole host of ethical questions that we need to address as a society.
Like what kinds of questions? Can you give me an example?
Well, one concern is the potential for unintended consequences. When we edit genes, we're making changes to the fundamental building blocks of life.
Right.
We need to be extremely careful to avoid creating unforeseen problems.
That makes sense. And I imagine there are also concerns about access and equity. Gene editing is an expensive technology.
It is.
And it's important to ensure that these therapies are available to everyone.
Absolutely. We need to avoid creating a two-tiered system where the wealthy can afford to extend their lifespans while the rest of us are left behind.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider here.
Yeah.
The potential benefits of these anti-aging therapies are enormous.
Huge.
But we need to approach them with a strong sense of ethics and responsibility.
I completely agree. It's crucial to have these conversations now before these technologies become widely available. We need to ensure that we're using them to benefit all of humanity, not just a select few.
This is a lot to think about. But before we get too carried away with the potential for radical life extension, it's important to remember that aging is a complex process.
Absolutely.
Influenced by many factors, not just our genes.
That's a crucial point. Our lifestyle choices, environment, and even our social connections play a significant role in how we age. There's no magic bullet for aging.
So even with all these amazing advances, we can't just pop a pill and expect to live forever.
I'm afraid not. But what this research does offer is a deeper understanding of the mechanisms that drive aging. And that knowledge is empowering. It gives us the tools to make informed choices about our health and to potentially extend our healthy lifespans.
So it's not about conquering aging, but about aging gracefully and healthfully.
Precisely. It's about living well for as long as possible. And with these new insights into cellular aging, we have the potential to make that a reality for more people than ever before.
It's a remarkable time to be alive. So with all this talk about extending lifespans and manipulating the aging process, I can't help but wonder, what are the broader philosophical implications of this research?
That's a fascinating question. And it's one that I think we'll be grappling with for decades to come. As we gain more control over the aging process, we'll need to rethink our fundamental assumptions about the human lifespan and what it means to live a meaningful life.
It's almost like we're entering uncharted territory.
It is.
We're pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human.
In a way, yes. And it's both exhilarating and a little bit daunting. We need to approach this new frontier with both curiosity and caution, ensuring that we use this knowledge wisely and for the betterment of humankind.
This conversation has been truly mind-blowing.
It has.
We've gone from the microscopic level of cells to the grand scale of society, exploring the profound implications of this groundbreaking research on biological age.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible as we continue to unravel the mysteries of aging. Who knows what amazing discoveries await us?
I can't wait to find out. But for now, let's shift gears and talk about something a little closer to home. If you could choose which of your own cells to rejuvenate, which would you pick and why?
That's a tough question. There are so many possibilities to consider. Perhaps I would focus on rejuvenating my brain cells to enhance cognitive function and creativity. Or maybe I would target my heart cells to ensure a long and healthy lifespan. The choice is both exciting and ethically complex.
That's a great point. We need to think carefully about the potential consequences of these therapies, both for individuals and for society as a whole.
Absolutely. We need to engage in a thoughtful and inclusive dialogue to ensure that we're using these technologies responsibly and for the benefit of all.
Well said. And on that note, let's wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From the science of cellular aging to its potential impact on healthcare, social programs, and even our fundamental understanding of what it means to be human.
Right.
It's clear that we're on the verge of a new era in aging research.
Yes.
One that promises to transform our lives in profound ways.
It's been an incredible journey, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Me too. Well, I think we've covered just about everything in this deep dive, from the science of cellular aging to potential therapies, the societal implications, and even the philosophical questions it raises. It's been an incredible journey.
It has. And I hope our listeners have enjoyed exploring these fascinating topics with us.
I hope so too. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of the world around us. There's always something new to discover. Okay, so we've talked about the science, the potential therapies, and even some of the societal implications. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to get a bit more philosophical.
Sounds good to me. Philosophy and aging go hand in hand.
Exactly. With all this talk about extending lifespans and potentially manipulating the aging process, I can't help but wonder how this research might change our perspective on life and death.
That's a really interesting question. It challenges us to rethink some very fundamental concepts.
Right. For centuries, we've viewed aging as this inevitable decline, a natural progression towards death. But if we start thinking about aging as something we can potentially control or even reverse, does that change how we view our own mortality?
It certainly complicates things. If we no longer see aging as a fixed path, does that make death less certain, less of an absolute? Does it make life seem longer, or perhaps even shorter in comparison to what might be possible?
Whoa, that's pretty deep. I hadn't thought of it that way. And what about the concept of a natural lifespan? Does that even make sense anymore if we're actively manipulating the aging process?
That's another great point. We might need to redefine what we consider natural as these technologies advance. It blurs the lines between biology and human intervention.
And then there's a question of meaning and purpose. If we have the potential to live much longer lives, does that change how we approach our goals, our relationships, our careers?
It could definitely shift our priorities. We might be less focused on achieving everything in a limited time frame and more inclined to take our time to explore different paths to cultivate deeper connections.
It's almost like the whole concept of time takes on a new dimension when we start thinking about extended lifespans.
Absolutely. We might start thinking in terms of decades or even centuries rather than years. It forces us to reconsider what it means to live a fulfilling life.
This is also mind-blowing. But before we get too carried away with these big philosophical questions, let's bring it back to the individual level. You mentioned earlier that if you could choose which of your own cells to rejuvenate, you might focus on your brain cells.
Yeah, I think maintaining cognitive function and creativity is incredibly important for a long and fulfilling life. But I also recognize that choosing which cells to rejuvenate is a deeply personal and complex decision.
Absolutely. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But thinking about it on a personal level really highlights the ethical dilemmas we might face as these technologies become more available.
It does. Who gets to decide which cells to target? What if someone wants to enhance their physical abilities or appearance? What are the potential societal consequences of these choices?
It seems like we're opening up a Pandora's box of ethical considerations. But I think these are conversations we need to have now as a society before these technologies become commonplace.
I agree. We need to be proactive in shaping how these technologies are developed and used. It's crucial that we consider not just the scientific advancements, but also the ethical implications and potential societal impacts.
Well said. We need to ensure that these advances benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Right. And we need to think carefully about how these technologies will shape our understanding of what it means to be human, to age, and to live a meaningful life.
I think you've summed it up perfectly. This research on biological age is not just about extending lifespans. It's about redefining what's possible and pushing the boundaries of our understanding of life itself. It's a journey into uncharted territory, and it's one that we need to embark on with both curiosity and a deep sense of responsibility.
I couldn't agree more. It's an exciting time to be alive, and I'm eager to see where this journey takes us.
Me too. Well, I think we've covered just about everything in this deep dive, from the science of cellular aging to the potential therapies, the societal implications, and even the philosophical questions it raises. It's been an incredible journey.
It has. And I hope our listeners have enjoyed exploring these fascinating topics with us.
I hope so too. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of the world around us. There's always something new to discover.